What is going on, everybody? Justin here, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. We are rocking out as I'm having a ton of fun with this music here lately. But hey, it's Comic Collector Origins. It's Saturday, it's 2 o'clock, back to my normal time. I know last week I had to change some things around, but yeah, so we're back here, 2 o'clock Eastern. Appreciate everybody who's hanging. I see a bunch of people in the chat right now. I'm going to tone this down just a little bit. So yeah, Comic Collector Origins, all about the community. As I always say, I bring folks on and interview them about their origin, about how they got started in this hobby, how they got started reading and collecting, hearing a little bit about their background. So I'm really excited to bring in our next guest because, you know, now that I think about it, he actually has been on the channel, I think technically before as a guest, but not as a Comic Collector Origins guest. So I'm super pumped. I'm going to jump right into it. I got to bring out my man, Skeme Richards, who shout out to Morb. I had met through Morbius Comics, but let's bring in Skeme right here. My man, Skeme.
Yo.
What up, brother?
What's up?
How you doing, man?
All good, man. How's everything on your end?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Let me turn this rock and roll off here.
Yo, we rocking out.
I know, right? I've been toying around with some of this stuff lately and all these new features that StreamYard has. I was like, all right, we'll start messing with some of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
Man, it enhances it. It enhances
it. Right. So Skeme, man, dude, I appreciate you taking this time to be here. I know you're traveling right now, which I'm glad this, kind of worked out. I know you just mentioned you had a gig last night, but I'm pumped for you to be on the show, man.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here, man. I had to make it happen. You know, it was one of those things where I actually got booked for this gig after I confirmed with you. So I was like, okay, I'll do the gig, but I need to stay an extra day so I could, no flight delays or anything like that. I just wanted to be here,
absolutely,
talk with you, get connected with the comic community, and just have fun.
Absolutely, man. And for anybody who doesn't know, Skeme Richards, we're talking, as he has in his label there, DJ, film culture preserver, the works. And the Nostalgia King really is what I love. And I know that's with part of your website, which I put in the description below, by the way. So anybody who's watching right now with us, if you want to learn more about Skeme and some of the stuff that he does there, definitely check out the link. Skeme, I also put your Instagram account. So folks are, if they haven't reached out to you yet, or if they're not connected, it's certainly a place to do so. Talk comics there. No YouTube for you yet, Skeme. Is that right? Or do you have a channel?
You know what it is? There's so much going on, and I got so much on my plate, because I do a lot of record reviews for independent labels and artists. It's there's just so much going on, and I feel like I need an intern right now, to help me with all this. So I want to do the YouTube thing, but there's just when you're controlling your Instagram, your Twitter, your site, updating content, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I get that. I totally get that, man. I will say, I think you'd be perfect for a consistent YouTube channel because you have the personality for it, the face, everything going on.
That's the thing. It's I have to be consistent. I know a lot of DJ homies started doing Twitch and started doing Instagram Live, and they're on there 3-4 times a week. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't be on there 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
I want to just pop in when I want to pop in and pop out.
Sure.
But, to have a successful show, you have to be on a regular,
consistent. Yeah, absolutely. One day though, man, I could picture it, man. I'm just saying. Maybe don't count it out. Don't count it out as a possibility. I'll be your first subscriber. I'm just saying.
Can I get a Doom clone or something to do it for me?
There you go. I mean, there's got to be some local kid who needs $20 a week to help manage some things. Man, so I'm pumped to get into this stuff. Again, folks, everybody watching right now, we got about 12 people at the moment. Appreciate everybody here who's live with us. If you're catching the replay right now, thank you for taking that time to catch the replay. Let's say a quick hello to the chat, and then we're going to get into the questions. I see a lot of people saying what's up already, so we're going to kick it off with John Ross here. Big Daddy Ross, what's going on? John, appreciate you, man. He says, just finished his first Lego ever, just in time. Whoa. We're talking Lego here. I got my Milnor sitting right up there. Going to be building that tomorrow. Very cool. Appreciate you, John, for hanging out with us here. We got my man Michael, Sove Collector, in the house as well. Oh. Happy Saturday for sure. He says, Skeme Richards, finally. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So appreciate you, Michael, for hanging out with us. We got Michelle, Moonlit Comics, also hanging out. I saw she mentioned she's about to go see Batman in just about an hour or so. So appreciate you swinging by here, Michelle. Enjoy that film when you get to see it. We got Inja Binja also hanging out with us. What up, Inja?
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping by. We have my man Steve, Hip Hops, and me representing the Team Nerd Herd podcast. Happy Saturday to you, my friend. Let's see. We got Justin, aka Nemesis Prime, in the house as well. He says, "Is this Top Gun music?" I mean, we could, yeah, we're hyping up the new film coming out. We actually just watched Top Gun last night, my girlfriend and I, but we ended up switching it up. But that's funny that you bring it up. But good to see you, Justin. Thanks for hanging out with us as well. I actually think I have Justin lined up here in a month or so for the show as well. Nice. So looking forward to that. Let's see. We got Uncanny Swag in the house. My man, he's been posting some fire lately over on Instagram. Good stuff there. Let's see. We got BLC, Big Lion Cat, also hanging with us. What's going on? Patrick, Meow Meow. Just had him on the show not too long ago. Let's see. Scrolling through, seeing everybody saying hi to everybody. Let's see. Hey, don't hate, man. Don't hate. All right. We got Ruben Guzman. What's going on, White Tiger? Cowabunga to you. We got my man Nick from Comic Culture Station, brother. All right, I think we are caught up at the moment. So again, everybody, if you're here right now, smash that like button. Make sure you are following Skeme. I put his information in the description below. But Skeme, let's get into this, man, because and again, I said this in the beginning, but I want to shout out Morbius because he is the one that had introduced me to you. I had mentioned before, I believe you were on either my channel or maybe his as we were, trying, slowly making the transition. But I know you and Morbius have known each other for a while now, and I'm glad he introduced us because just got those great vibes from you right away, just like I do with Morb, like just good people all around. So I get that from you, and you've been doing great things. You've been killing it on Instagram. Love the posts that you've been doing. A lot of the classic issues, as I mentioned, you're the nostalgic king, so I expect nothing less than some of the best of the best. So
I'm trying to keep up with Paul and
yeah, I hear that, man. That's tough, man. All you guys got all the good books, man.
Right? Like I go left field when they're posting. I'm like, all right, I'm going left field because you guys is too. I'm going left field.
You gotta change it up. You gotta change it up a little bit. That's funny. Hey, we got Eric Durant's in the house station, my friend. All right, so let's just go right into this Skeme. First and foremost, where did this hobby start for you, from the collecting portion to the reading portion to the whatever came within the cartoons and the movies and the shows that came along with? How old were you when you first started to gain this passion for these characters and stories that we love? And what was your environment like? What was around you? Did you have friends or family that were also into this? Were you kind of a lone wolf in this at the time? Tell us about that.
So I got my first connection to collecting comics, before we were collected. But I honestly, I feel like as kids, we always collected. Before we knew we were collectors, we just held on to things. So like 1976 is when I really started getting connected to comic books, whether it was vacation and driving down to South Carolina to visit family and stopping at truck stops and getting comics like Charlton Comics off the rack, or the neighborhood drugstore, because the drugstore used to have the comic racks, and we would see Charlton Comics, and it would always be the comics that they sent back because the covers would be ripped off the top, or in the plastic bags. So, but it wasn't until I got my first comic, which was 78, which I bought my own money, which was the Ali versus Superman comic.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. So,
prior to that, it was, my older cousin was like 3 years older than me. His father would come home from work every day with comics. Tomb of Dracula, Conan, Red Sonja, stuff like that. So he would, when he was done with it, he would just pass us the comics.
Nice.
And, so that's 75, 76. And it was going from there. It was like always comics. That was my first collecting love outside of, toys, G.I. Joe men in the 70s and stuff like that. Like that was my first collecting love.
Right. Damn. So it's nice that you were able to, because obviously as a kid, it's hard to, we don't have a budget per se, and so we're hoping that, somebody gets it for us type thing. So it's nice that it seems like you got some kind of going through with the rest of the family, kind of passing along.
Yeah.
Which was
and it was dope because my uncle was buying all of the Marvel magazines, Savage Swords. So I was seeing all that early, and a lot of it he wouldn't pass to us because, the Conan, the Red Son, some of those were like little adult,
right.
But my cousin was a couple years older, so he would wind up getting them.
Yeah.
And then
he can sneak them over to you.
But I was seeing all those comics early. And, then I started going to my local comic shop, which was Fat Jack's Comics, which is the oldest brand comic shop in Philly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So still in business. It opened
nice.
like 75, I think it opened.
Wow.
And, I was going there, and I was going to my other local, which was called the Comic Vault. So they were all like bike rides away. Like, we would Saturday afternoon bike.
Yep.
Spend your $3 on a couple comics.
Yep.
So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's like a perfect day right there. Just heading out. $3, man. $3 to get you a decent amount of comics back then. Not so much nowadays.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a couple other folks in the chat. Morbius, shout out to you, brother. Was just talking about you. Appreciate you, man, hanging out with us here. We also got my man Herminio Station. Herminio, hello. Let's see. I saw a few others here. We had let's see. We had Heather here, and she says Studio Bills wants to know if you are single. Do you take dates to shop for comics? I don't know. Man, I don't know if it's necessarily the place to date, but what's going on? Mark Robinson in the house as well. Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for stopping in. So it is interesting. You're mentioning, like, I know you got into a lot of other things too in terms of collecting, right? And I've seen your setup. Behind you have a whole station behind you normally when you're home. Toys and figures and things like that. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, did that come along with shortly after the comic stuff, or
Well, actually, that all went hand in hand.
Okay.
That went hand in hand because as a kid, I was a toy collector. I never, most parents gave kids stuff away, to cousins because they're like, you're so old for this, so that we're giving it to your younger cousin. My parents never gave my stuff away, so I amassed Star Wars men, the play ships like the X-Wing fighter, the Millennium Falcon, G.I. Joes, and then the Mego action figures. So a lot of that stuff I still have from childhood.
Damn.
And it's one of those things where collecting was just in my blood. It was just me, and I've kept everything around me. And that's what actually keeps me young, is all of those things that I've kept for all these years.
Yeah.
It's kept me young.
Sure.
And so it's all going hand in hand. The toys, the comics, as a DJ, the records, it's all just going hand in hand. And as you get older, it's like now you buy art, you buy, all these other things. So yeah, it's what keeps me young. It's what's keeping me happy. It's what's keeping me connected to a lot of people around the world, because you figure anything you want, you can make a phone call, send an email to a homie in another country.
Yeah.
And as a collector, I've been around the world DJing to be able to buy collections from Japan, Korea.
That's so cool, man.
So, so it's hand in hand. The DJing just funds the collecting hobby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it helps you kind of get out there around the world along with. So, and I remember seeing you a couple months ago. You were out and about in some other countries and things like that. So that was really cool. I enjoyed kind of following along on your stories and stuff as you were, posting some cool stuff there. So I imagine you've seen a lot in terms of the types of collections and books and toys and stuff that are out there. So that's wild. It's interesting because like for me, so I didn't get into comics till a little less than 4 years ago, like really on my own terms, get into it. I had known about him and I was into movies and stuff like that. But to me, I hear people talk about nostalgia for certain items and things like that. And I'm like, man, when I look at certain comics, I don't get that because I haven't grown. These are not things I did when I was little. But the other, I just probably last year sometime, my local comic shop, they had on sale the Pokemon, the original booster packs of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately felt that nostalgia. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like, I need to have that. Like, I was like, and of course it was like, $500 for one little old booster pack or something crazy. But that was where I was at when I was, much younger. I'm just like, okay, that was my life. I remember my dad bringing home Pokemon cards. We'd open the booster packs together. We'd play, the game and all this stuff. So I see that more and more now. Obviously I've always heard the term nostalgia, and I was, music, if anything, to me, I get that term a little bit more with, throughout the years of listening to different types of music and stuff. But yeah, so, it's cool to hear, you and obviously a lot of other guests that I brought on talk about some of this stuff and how it makes them feel. I wanted to point that out because you said a lot of this stuff makes you happy, and I get that feeling now. At least when I view stuff like that as well with Pokemon and things like that. So it's cool. I don't blame you. And I definitely, I'm hoping that the stuff I'm reading today is my nostalgia, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
That's future nostalgia. That's future nostalgia. There's a lot of things that I get connected today, music or whatever, or just collecting, that I'm like, what? This is a $5 item here, but this is going to be what people are digging for in 20 years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just future nostalgia. And I had this conversation. I snuck into Paul Morris's local comic shop yesterday when I came to town, and they happened to be talking about like Kirby and how the connection that this generation doesn't have to Kirby, and I overheard it, and I was like, hey, by the way, I just had this conversation with Paul and Morbius on the show the other day about the connection, and why, this generation doesn't have the connection to Kirby, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
And then you have some people that that they have young souls where they get it, where they're like, I understand why that generation loved Kirby, or the next generation loved Byrne or Liefeld, or, they get it. So, yeah.
It's a good mix. Absolutely. And speaking of Paul, see him in the chat right here saying, what up, gentlemen? Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for swinging by as well. We were just talking about you earlier too, behind stage here a bit. It's cool that you're up in his neck of the woods right now, Skeme. It's really cool you're able to.
Thanks for the local comic shop discount, Paul. I threw your name out there and got
there you go. That's a win right there. That's a win. We got my man Azor's Tiger. Eric, good to see you, Eric. Thanks for swinging by as well. A couple other folks. I saw Raging Cajun. Didn't mention him earlier, but good to see Raging. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So I'm caught up here. I saw Sove talking about that $3 got me. Oh, interesting. He said $3 got him 4 books today. That's not bad then. I mean, hey, there are those great deals, dollar bins and things like that are still out there. So I just wish the new stuff was that price. So I wanted to ask you too, Skeme, like, was this ever a roller coaster for you in terms of how often you were in and out of the hobby, or have you always consistently been collecting comic books throughout the time since you first started?
The only thing that has been consistent with collecting as a DJ has probably been records.
Okay.
Right. Cool. Maybe toys.
Okay.
The comic thing went through its phases.
Interesting.
So it went from late 70s buying comics. I got into DJ in 81. So now lunch money was split between comics and records.
Oh man.
Right?
Yeah.
You're getting a little older. Now it's being split between comics, records, and the arcade. Right?
Yep.
The arcades are popping off. So you gotta have some change. And it was until, so I bought consistently up until late 80s. And then late 80s, it just kind of fell off because now I'm old enough and I'm DJing parties now.
Yeah.
So the comic thing kind of took a back seat for,
Interesting.
everything else.
Yeah.
I was still going to shops and seeing what was going on. I just wasn't spending as much.
Okay.
And then my OG, who actually like taught me to DJ, that's how me and him got connected. Let me back up for a second.
Yeah.
My OG who taught me to DJ, we got connected not because of DJing and music, but because I would go to his house at 16 with my MC while they were practicing.
Yeah.
And I would look in his closet in the basement and I would be like, this guy's got comics.
Right?
So we got connected on that.
Yeah.
Fast forward to like late 80s, and I'm not really buying comics. Early 90s, it's like, hey, do you want to go hit the shops? So now we're going to hit the shops in the early 90s. So it was like a 3-4 year window, 2-3 year window.
Sure.
From that late 80s to early 90s. And then it jump started again. Because that's when all of the new art was coming in. That's when it wasn't really burning them anymore. It was like the new,
like Jim Lee and
stuff like that. So then that piqued new interest and curiosity. I'm like, oh, what's going on with the comics?
Yeah.
He was consistently buying comics, and he's 6 years older than me.
Okay.
He was consistently buying comics. So he was like, yo, you need to get hipped to what's going on in the books now.
The current stuff.
So like from 88 to 90, 91, I had stopped. And then 91, it was like, all right.
Back in it. Yeah.
And then I did that until probably mid to late 90s. And then it stopped again because I was like, oh man, here we go with the bagged comics. I can't even open it because everything's bagged. Here we are with the 4 covers, which do you want this cover? Do you want this cover? And it just became like a cash grab.
Yeah.
And I was like, back to records.
To sure.
So
Old faithful.
It left a bad taste in my mouth because I saw the cash grab.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever. And then I stopped for some years. And then when it was the new 52 and the new Captain America starting at 1, I was like, oh, I guess I'll jump back in again.
Yeah. See what it's about.
And I did that for a few years. And then the final straw was, I was like, okay, I'm tired of the same retellings of the same characters over and over. So I started reading like Dynamite and Boom
Oh yeah,
You know,
some of the indies. Yeah,
I jumped over to that side. I mean,
yeah,
Image, of course, back then, but like
sure.
Dynamite, Boom,
Mhm.
and I felt like I was getting older, so now I'm reading a little more mature comics.
Yeah,
You know, I'm reading
yeah,
Dark Shadows, I'm reading Spider, I'm reading like
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
So, and then that lasted for a little bit, and it was like, all right, music is still the constant in my life. Music and toys is always the constant.
Right, right. Damn, man. So there have been some waves, some roller
Yeah,
coaster rides for you. And it's so cool to hear because like, yeah, I mean it's tough to like stick with something for a long period of time. Obviously you have life that going on around you and other things that might change things up a bit. You also were kind of comics for you were competing with your music and with the
right.
toys and everything else. So, and I'm like you, I have a lot of different hobbies. I always find myself kind of getting into something different. And when I get into it, I'm all in for a little, for a while. And, either I love it or I don't. And obviously it hurts the wallet after a while if you try to get into too many things.
Yeah, I mean, because when I first started buying records and comics with my own money, like my parents used to give me $3 a day for lunch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Early 80s.
Sure.
And I would spend $1 of the three because I would get like a cupcake, a bag of chips, a drink,
Yeah.
right? And then the other $2 I would save till the weekend, and I would go downtown and I would go to the record stores and the comic stores.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I told my mom years later when I got older, she was like, "I can't believe you weren't eating; you were spending your lunch money on." I was like, "Yeah, but that kind of like taught discipline to save
Totally.
money."
Yeah.
And
You're
granted, I got
prioritizing.
allowance. I had to do chores and I got allowance, but
Right.
it taught you discipline to like, hey, save that money. If you want something,
Yep.
save your money.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Andy Swag, records got expensive too. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
I just went to a local shop or a local area in Red Bank here in New Jersey. I don't know if you've ever been to Red Bank, but really nice small town, a lot of mom and pop shops and things like that. They actually had a record store there, so we had walked in to check it out. I used to work in FYE for years, like 9 years. I'd work at FYE, so I was surrounded by music and movies and alphabetizing and putting things into different sections and things like that, seeing all the new toys, things like that. So I always kept up on stuff. And I used to, I went to school for audio. I was used to engineer and write for a long time when I was younger. So I was around all that stuff. And I have, you mentioned vinyl, like I've totally gotten into it. And I like that. I feel like in a way, vinyl's one big aspect of music that has really kept things alive in terms of, especially supporting the artists, being able to have something to sell that the true fans want to own and they want to buy and not just listen on digitally or whatever. So it's just interesting that you kind of bring that up. And yeah, as Uncanny Swag said, like seeing how the prices are for a lot of that stuff now too, even in that shop that I went to just the other day, really, really pricey for the vinyls. The CDs, not so much. I was surprised to see how many CDs they had. They had a lot of cheap ones for like, dollar bin type of CDs, but brand new kind of wrapped still.
But records, man, it's like comics, like you'll get limited pressings. And then it'll be $10, but then 3 days later, here it is, it's $100 because that secondary retail market.
Yep.
Done. I mean, it's the gift and the curse.
Yeah.
Look at the sneaker collecting market. Like I look at sneakers as this is what we wore in the 80s to look fresh.
Sure.
Now it's like, nope, I'm boxing these, I'm buying them, and then I'm selling them for 4 times the amount.
Sure.
That's what comics is. That's what records are. Anything collectible.
Yeah. There's going to be a crowd out there.
Exactly.
Trying to do that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Look at Cause and look at all these artists that's putting out stuff like limited edition vinyl figures and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't want to say real collectors can't afford it. It's just, it's harder for real collectors to get it now.
Yeah.
Because the hype beast kids are all buying it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, definitely. You're absolutely right, man. And it's not just, I mean, obviously we see it here with comics, but it's not just comics. It's anything that's collectible, anything that you can, that there's going to be a fan base for, there's going to be other folks that, that will try to dive into it for other reasons as well.
And the crazy thing is it used to be nerdy.
Right. Now it's cool.
Like, no one wanted comics. We used to buy toys and comics because it was nerdy. You went to the toy show, it was nothing but the old guys who had been collecting toys and stuff for 50 years, and us nerdies. Yeah. Right. And now it's like everybody. Yeah. So what's he saying? In your question as of now, what do you find yourself digging for? Honestly, I'm listening to a lot of jazz. As I've gotten older, I listen to a lot of jazz, especially when I'm home.
Nice.
When I'm home, when I'm out, playing gigs, it's like a lot of funk, soul, hip hop, stuff like that. But like home, yeah, I'm like throw some jazz on, go through the records, go through the toy collection, go through the comics, sort stuff. You know, see what Morbius and Paul is going to show this week, so I can compete with those guys. You know,
I love that. That's part of the process there. Part of the bagging and boarding process. And we got a couple other folks in the chat here. DJ Eclipse saying Skeme.
My man, rock steady.
Nice. Thanks for stopping in. We also got my man Gore Vidal hanging out with us. He's talking about the early 80s was a great time for record buying, especially 12-inch extended versions of songs, especially of the new wave music. There you go. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is like how comics have gone up in price. Buying a 12-inch single in the early 80s, you got them for $2.99, and if they were on sale, you got them for $1.99. Do you know what $10 as a kid could get you?
Yeah.
At the end of the week,
right?
Comics, records, like you felt like you made it, you know?
I love it. I had seen another question here too, and I wanted to jump into this portion of it too. It's just Mark asked about your name, Skeme. He wants to know kind of how you came up with Skeme or Skeme Richards as your handle and everything.
So as a kid, I always had a master plan, right? Always had a master plan. If you said we can do this ABC, I would be like, nope. XYZ would get us there. We still get the same outcome. So my OG that taught me to DJ, he was like, yo, you're always scheming, right? You're always, so that's where the scheme comes from.
Yeah.
But the Richards comes from the incredible Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? So that was one of my favorite comic book characters. So the incredible Mr. Fantastic, Skeme Richards.
Yep. Love it. It rolls off the tongue, man. It's real easy, it's all, and it's perfect for branding, So I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. So what about well, you mentioned, like we talked about before, like with the community and stuff like that, we were talking about just how with what's been going on in the world, things have been obviously rough in a lot of ways, but there's also been some positive stuff that has gone on, with that had come from some of that, and I'm talking about like the pandemic and things like that. When did you stumble upon this comic book community portion of it? And I mean, I guess even from like an Instagram / YouTube, area. And obviously I'm sure there were communities even before this, but maybe not as easy, that weren't virtual or whatever. But kind of when did you start to like click with a lot of different folks and maybe people that didn't necessarily live near you,
Yeah, it was definitely the start of the pandemic when everything started happening. You had Destroy that had to show off your gems. I think that was the initial spark for a lot of people to get connected with Show Off Your Gems with Destroy. Because that's where I met all these other people. And through more of it was like, okay, this dude collects comics, and now this dude collects comics. Okay, all right. And that's how it was, that the pandemic was the gift and the curse for a lot of people.
Sure.
For us collectors and being connected in different scenes, it was the gift.
Yeah.
And through that, and then me and Morbius battling with the,
I remember seeing those. Yeah.
And then all the other collectors, and then I met Moonlit and Paul and Sove and Desire Comics, and it was that was just a trickle effect. So the pandemic actually was the gift for us as collectors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was the gift.
Yeah. 100%. And it's incredible. I'm glad you had this opportunity to kind of stumble into, because I was very much saying like, oh, actually, let me ask you this. Like, did you know that there were like, well, obviously you just met a lot of these folks, but like, I know for me, like I didn't know anybody, that there was a community on Instagram or, and I jumped in, probably 2 years before the pandemic is when I kind of started to dip my toes in and see a lot of names, some names that are still around, some names that have, deleted their account or moved on or whatever. But for me, I was like, I just started to post. I had comics. I'm like, let me start sharing this. Let me make a page. I didn't want to bother my personal family members with my comics and stuff because, most of them are not going to care. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make this thing. So I'll know good comics and I'm just going to start, posting books because I just want to, these are cool. It's cool artwork and I'm reading it and I want to see if anybody else is reading it. Let me just start posting and sharing and see what I get back. And immediately just started to see the same names pop up, the same people like my stuff, same people reach out, DMing me and stuff like that. Then I just realized that there was this whole community and it was a game. It was a whole life changer for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. So one of my homies in Japan, like he knows you're the nostalgia king. You collect it all, you do it all. But he always tells me, he's like, if you think you're the one guy, he's like, if you collect paper clips, there's a guy in Japan who has a better paperclip collection than you do.
So true. That's
right?
so true.
I always knew there was the community.
Yeah.
The difference is, you know, you would see a hashtag, you would like, oh, this guy posted comics. All right, cool. But we weren't necessarily a community.
Right.
It was like, you know, it was a hashtag. And it was like, okay, I might hit like on somebody's page. But I felt like through the Instagram lives and the YouTube videos, that's when it became the community because now we're talking.
Yes.
Like we're not typing. We're like talking.
This face to face is a whole different level.
So I feel like that brought the community, you know, and then you started having the sellers, and like you got connected with the different sellers and Elite Comics and, you know, and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, now they know, oh, Skeme's in the room. Okay. Oh, Skeme just won that. Give them free shipping. You know,
right. Because they get to know you get to know them.
Right.
That experience. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I love hearing these stories of seeing how people kind of got into it, and obviously how open it opens your world to a whole new set of people and people that are passionate just like you about everything, you know, that you're into. So it is really cool.
Yeah, like now I'll come to town if I got a gig or something, and someone will know I'm in town. They'll call me and be like, "Hey, are you in town? Like, yo, do you want to go get burgers? Because I know you love burgers, and I got a record shop for you, a comic shop for you."
Yep.
You know, the only person who hasn't done that was Paul. I'm feeling upset, Paul Morris.
There you go, Paul. Come on, man. Step it up, man. So funny. Hey, we got a couple other folks in the house. We got my man Bobby, Station Bobby. Good to see you. And also Brother Joe in the house as well. Says, Mr. Mayor, thanks for helping us grow. Man, likewise, man. I'm growing from everybody. This is everybody helping each other here in this community. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And again, I'm talking with Skeme Richards. If you guys do not know Skeme, make sure you follow him over on Instagram. I put his links in the description below. So next thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is sorry, that was my dog. He's like, he just came in from inside. It's still snowing over here in Jersey. I wanted to ask you about, have you gone to, are you a big Comic-Con guy? Have you gone to a lot of Comic-Cons? And if you have, what was like the earliest one you've gone to?
First con I went to, I think was like 79 or 80.
Wow. Okay, cool.
That was the first. It was the Philadelphia Comic-Con, and it was at the airport Hilton, I think it was at the airport.
Okay.
And it was just like at the hotels.
Yep.
And that was the earliest one I went to, was like 80, 81. So like somewhere around 80, 81. That was
okay.
I really wish. It's funny, the homegirl 50/50 girl just posted the flyer recently.
Oh,
that con. She must have saw it online somewhere.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was like the first one I went to. And then then of course it was like some later on, and then Wizard World, Wizard World, and then we put out a comic book a few years back, so we started doing New York Comic Con. So that was more so like we're doing cons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, we did New York Comic Con, we did Emerald City Comic Con, G Fest, which is Godzilla Fest.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been going to cons. I haven't been a consistent, like I've never been to San Diego myself.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I want to go to San Diego, but I know it's overkill.
Yeah.
Right, because it's Hollywood based more so than,
it's not just the comics at that point.
And I miss, once again, the one room where there's just a bunch of dirty old guys and they're selling comic books, and you're like, they're
making deals.
They're pricing like it's 1981.
Sure.
I want to walk out with some gems versus walking in and being like, wait a minute, that's a $10 comic, but you have it as $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm always curious thinking back to like, or hearing people's first kind of time at the, these expos and things like that. Have you been to the New York City Comic Con? Did you mention that one?
Yeah, we did New York Comic Con 3 years in a row.
Oh, okay, nice.
So it was like we got a booth there, so I got the pass, so I can come in here and I could just wild out. Actually, what was it, the second year, the homie Ed Pisker, who does Hip Hop Family Tree.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was on the panel. Esoteric from Czarface was on the panel. So that was like the second one that we did. But yeah, like I love New York Comic Con because I still feel like it's a con.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, right. Same. You get a little bit about, you still get some of the actors and things like that, but it's I feel like San Diego is definitely its own mothership of.
Yeah.
You ever get to go to like Baltimore or anything like that, or Terrific? There's a Terrificon over in Connecticut.
We just went to ZoloCon last week.
Okay.
My homie who I dig with in Philly, who I grew up with, he goes to Baltimore. He does the Baltimore. It's almost like when he goes to the Baltimore one, for some strange reason, I'm like out of state or something. Gig. And then I know last year he did the Baltimore, and I was at ZoloCon with Morb and them.
Oh, I remember that. I remember you guys went. I remember seeing the pictures of you and Morb.
Yeah.
So it was like that same time then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to do Baltimore because I know there's gems. Like he's always like dealers have gems there.
Oh, 100%. And it's much more of what you're talking about, where like even though it's still like bigger, it's not the biggest, and it's still very much comic book focused. Bunch of dudes like randomly digging in and making deals and things like that. So I think you still get that vibe.
Right.
And it's less about. I mean, they have some actors, but it's way less about the actor side or video game side or any other side.
I just want to go and I want to see like my favorite artist. I want to buy a print from them or something.
Yeah, like walk up to them and
Right. Because like the Philly one, there's a Philly show, the Philadelphia Comic Show, every other month.
Oh, wow.
And they always bring, it's at the hotel, it's at the Essington Hotel by the airport.
Yeah.
They always bring an artist, like, Ron Wilson's always there, like certain people are always there. And it's all just like really good dealers. And I always walk out with gems for cheap.
Yeah. That's awesome. And man, that's a lot. That's often. Every other month. That's pretty often.
Yeah. And it's been going on for whatever amount of years now.
Yeah.
So I love that because I can just wake up on Sunday morning, get the early bird special at 10, go grab some comics and be home by 1.
Right.
With like spend 200 and have like a stack of just like good books.
Sure. You still got the day ahead of you. A couple things in the chat here. DJ Eclipse says, "Yo, Skeme, I'm down south about to hook up with Sanford, and we're hitting the basement comic warehouse." That sounds cool.
See that?
That sounds cool right there.
It's like DJ Eclipse, that's the homie New York, and like Eclipse, as a DJ, he's out there for records, but he's always been a comic book dude, and that's the funny thing. Out of all of the hip hop guys, DJs have always been collectors of comic books. More DJs and graffiti artists have always been collectors versus like the MCs and everybody else. It's always the DJs that I bump into, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I collect comics."
That's cool. Yeah. Very cool. Let's see. There are a couple other. I saw Brandon in the house. Comics Kings. What's going on, Brandon? Thanks for hanging out with us. Obi-Wan also hanging out with us today. Hello. Let's see. Scrolling through here. Moonlit looks like she's about to get ready for that movie. She says, "Great episode so far. I'll be back for the rest on the replay. We appreciate you, Michelle. Enjoy.
Tell us how that movie is, Moonlit. Tell us.
Enjoy. Yeah, I'm actually going to see it a second time later today, me and my girlfriend. So we're pumped. Let's see. Let's see. PRB. Oh, there you go. PRB saying the Delaware show was nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Got one out there.
Once again, he keeps me. When the pandemic started, we went heavy on the comic runs. We started going heavy, and he kept me motivated to be like, "Yo, I'm hitting 20 shops in the Philly, Jersey, Delaware area today. Are you rolling?" And I'd be like, "All right, cool. Let's go."
Dope. Yeah. It's a great feeling. Yeah. Are you buying current books right now? Do you hit up on Wednesdays?
No.
Okay.
No. And here's why. I don't have enough time to read. Like DJing and having to do mixes and having mix shows and having to travel, I found myself stacking books that I never read.
You just never got to dive into them or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Now, on an occasion, my homie Ron, he'll be like, "Yo, you need to get this book," and it'll be a new book. And I'll be like, "Okay, I'll grab it."
Yeah.
But for me to stay consistent, buying month in, month out, it's gotten harder because if I can't read them, because that's first and foremost, that's the bottom line, the reading aspect.
Sure.
If I can't read them, then that means I'm not enjoying them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to just buy it just for the sake of buying it. Now, granted, there will be a book that'll come out that I know is going to be a big book, so I'll buy it.
Yeah. Try to get it.
But I'm not buying new books now because it's so hard. But I am chasing old books that I either couldn't have as a kid or saw on the wall. Like my local comic shop, the Comic Vault and Fat Jack's, like late 80s, early 90s, all of those rare X-Men's that are rare now were on the wall or in the bins, $20.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
They were all there. Like, I remember seeing every heavy book, Avengers 57, the first Vision. Like, that was a $50 book on the wall.
Yeah.
So
not anymore.
Yeah, so like for me, it's like I'll buy those because I want to still complete my runs.
Sure.
I can't start new runs now. And how much space until you take up space until you're like, I need a storage, and I don't want to get storage.
Same, yeah. That was my next question, because I know we're talking about comics right now, but we just mentioned vinyl, we just mentioned toys. Right. Where do you find the room for all this stuff?
And that's the thing. So, comic collector, record collector, toy collector.
Yeah.
I collect classic arcade games and pinball machines.
Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah.
So plus like 60s, 70s, 80s vintage movie posters, all the kung fu posters, all like so when is too much?
Right.
And then the VHS collection. Right. And I have a vintage BMX bike collection. Like,
oh my God.
How much is too much?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to get storage because then you're a hoarder.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to limit what I'm buying.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, next thing you know,
following you and following other people, I get into certain things. Like, I have no problem digital. I'll read them digital.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah.
It's just like I can't. Comics are what, $3.95, $4.95. Like, it's like, oh man, I miss 25 cents.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for you for that. I would love if they brought that back. That makes sense though. That makes sense. And I always joke and say, the minute you're running out of room, it's time to upgrade the house. You gotta buy gotta buy a mansion next. Mansion's next.
I have a house. I got rooms dedicated to things.
Yeah.
But like, it's once you start not being able to walk around, it's like problem. We got a problem.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. See a couple of folks here in the chat. Paul said, let's hit Time Capsule. Is that local?
Bro, I already hit it yesterday. Threw your name out there and got this guy. I was already there yesterday.
He was like, where's Paul at? DJ Eclipse says he's got to go. Says you're the man. Appreciate you, man, swinging by, hanging out with us.
Peace.
Let's see. He doesn't find the room. That's how. Talking about
That's it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Herminio. You just buy a second house. Boom, easy. Solves all your problems.
Honestly, if I could do that, it's crazy. A funny story. Rest in peace, my man Biz Markie. Biz Markie was OG collector, of everything: toys, sneakers, video games, comic books, everything.
Yeah.
Biz used to have two houses next to each other in Jersey.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. One was all his collection. One was where he lived.
Wow.
If I could do that,
that's the perfect setup right there. Not a storage, but you got the actual, comforting house that you can hang out and be in at any time you want, man. I like that. I'm going to keep my eye out for a mansion one day when I have the money. And that's going to be my next thing.
But you know what though? If you got the money for a mansion, then you got the money for more collectibles, which means you're going to need a double mansion.
You're going to have the problem no matter what, right? You're going to have then you start collecting maybe cars and maybe other crazy things.
You got a garage with like 10 cars in there.
Right. It doesn't stop. It never stops. Hey, we got Nigel in the house too. What's going on, Desired Comics? Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? So like speaking on the money aspect, there used to be a local toy store. Like 10 minutes from my house.
Okay.
And this was late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go there and hang out there so much that I wound up helping customers.
Oh.
And I would it was just because, I'm sitting there with the owner and he was a young guy as well. And we would just talk and he might be on the phone or he might be helping a customer and someone would have a question and the conversation would just start about the item or whatever.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was answering the phone. And
you're
working there, but he would pay me in toys.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And that's how I got like a lot of things, like my original Kenner Death Star in the box. Like he would just be like, man, you stayed here all day, just chilling in the shop, helping customers.
Yeah. That's a good deal. I would do that. Plus,
I started going to work on Saturday. not getting paid, but toys.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, that I think that's worth it right there.
And I was a grown man in 2000, like
yeah. Right.
Now I'm hanging out in the toy store, and but that's what it is. Like, as a collector, as somebody who just hangs out with people, you get the perks.
Yeah,
you get the perks of hanging out and knowing people, or like I'll go to Japan and there'll be people that are collectors and they'll be like, we know you collect this. Here, we bought you a gift.
Damn.
So
cool. Yeah. Very cool. Mark talking about he said he never heard about that about Biz. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
Biz was king collector, man. He was king of collectors.
Yeah. Let's see. Patrick here says, I was going to see Batman, but the storm is that bad now. Damn, man. Sorry to hear that.
Hang here with us.
Yeah, just hang, man. Just hang with us, Pat. Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, Mark's showing some love, man. It says, love this guy. Skeme got the stories on top of stories, man. That's why I was pumped for this, man. We didn't even get into like the details of some of the non-comic book related stuff yet. Just wait. But yeah, so I want, normally I knew you were traveling. So normally I ask folks to show off a book or two or something that they have with them. And obviously you're out, you're out of state right now. But I did want to ask you, is there like anything that comes to mind, a specific issue that you pull out of your head that means something special to you that you have back at home, even though you don't have it with you here today?
Before we even go there,
yeah.
I do have comics because
that's right. That's right.
I filled in some fillers while I was here.
Yeah.
Runs just because like I knew Paul wasn't going to pick me up.
Oh yeah.
So I stopped and I just bought some stuff, like some filler stuff, just to fill in some runs. Right.
Oh, hold on. Let me switch this here. It's got some Daredevil. Nice.
Daredevil.
What issue's that?
153. Some Sergeant Rock, because I love my war books. Like I love that era of war books.
Yep. Very cool.
Sergeant Rock. I love those. First appearance of Scalp Hunter, Origin.
I don't know that one. DC.
Tales. Let me get.
That's cool.
Filling some runs with some Captain Marvel stuff. Filling in some runs.
Very nice.
So like for me, that's what it is now. I had to pick up a nice clean one of that. That was like a nice clean.
Yeah. You could upgrade some of your stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I just pick, and it's not like these are rare books or anything, but they're just stuff that's like I'm just trying to fill in runs and numbers.
Yeah.
And that was my goal this last 2 years of the pandemic was just to fill in runs.
Nice.
So I bought a nice stack yesterday from Paul's local comic shop. Thanks,
Very
Paul.
nice.
Discount.
That discount.
So like I always, wherever I go, whatever city I travel to, it's like first thing that the promoter knows is I have to get a burger.
Mm-hmm.
I have to hit the record shop, and I have to hit the comic shop. That's in my rider.
Yep.
That's in my rider. Like those.
I love that.
If I
go
to
priorities.
Cologne, like when I go to Cologne, Germany, that's the first thing I do is there's a comic shop out there, and they've got all of the 70s Marvel, 80s Marvel, but all of the German versions.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Like all of the X-Men, the Ghost Riders, I know Sov is like the Ghost Rider king.
Yeah.
Like, all of that stuff. So I love traveling to see the different versions. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Kubert covers you're showing. We got Theodore Bracey in the house. What's going on, Theodore?
What's up?
Nice. Appreciate you stopping by. Let's see. We got Back Issues Paulie in the house as well. What's going on, man? It says late for the party. No, man, you're good, man. Come on in. Absolutely. Come on in. Mark has a question here about, hey, Skeme, do you get your books graded or is raw good enough for you? It's a good question.
Honestly, raw is good enough for me.
Yeah.
One, because I've read them, right? I've read all my books. Yeah. I make sure they stay in decent condition, right? Yeah. Like I don't smudge the ink. I don't put gloves on. I don't have a hazmat suit on, right? I read my books and because a long box, you can stack it, right? You can fill it up.
Yeah.
If everything's graded, then it's like, you know how much space grading cases takes up?
That's true. Yeah.
Right now, there are books that I do have that are graded. I didn't send them out to grade it, but I bought them graded.
Right.
Because they're investment pieces, which I'll never sell or get rid of. But they're just like, okay, this is a great condition of this book right here. Oh, I got it for dirt cheap. You know,
If it's a deal, it's a deal. Yeah.
I try not to pay going rate
Sure.
for graded books.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
Always undergraded or underpriced. You know, somebody's having a hard time. One man's loss is another man's gain. You know, like
yeah.
So, but it's only certain books that I'll get, like certain key books that I'm like, oh, I love this book, or oh, you know, this is that book. I need that graded. You know, but for the most part, it's raw books for me.
Yeah,
you know, it's raw books.
I feel pretty much the same. I have a maybe like 20 graded copies. I think I've only tried that process twice ever in terms of like just going through, which I really was not a fan of, generally speaking. But the others I bought, I rather just at this point, if I do want something graded, I just buy graded.
Yeah,
right.
Trying to hunt down the cleanest copy and then sneak it in and then waiting a year. To get it back.
Yeah, now at this point, maybe 2 years. Some folks
will grab a copy and have it already graded. And
it's easy.
Graded books for me just look good because it's like, okay, that's a piece of art. It's graded, it's valued. It's like buying a Warhol or Basquiat or whoever.
Sure.
And like, okay, that's a nice investment piece. If hard times ever hit, I could flip it.
At least you have some backup. Absolutely.
It's like stocks.
Yeah. And it's also, I'll try to, if I can, if it's something I can afford, I'll try to also still get a reader copy along with. So
always. I mean, because that's the thing. That's the nostalgia. I grew up with raw copies.
Yeah. So you're diving in, you're reading, you're flipping through pages.
So that's what I want.
Makes sense.
Raw copies. Raw copies they look good. They feel good.
They do. Yeah.
That newspaper is just nostalgic.
Yeah. Especially the older paper. I feel like right now, like recent stuff, Marvel's paper is not. I don't know if you've seen some of the.
I've seen it. Yeah,
it's not great.
That's not right because newsprint deteriorates after years. It turns yellow or whatever. That is what the value aspect is for me. Because are these white pages? Are these all white pages? Right. New paper is going to be here forever. It's not going to degrade. It's not going to turn yellow. It's just going to be paper forever.
Sure.
So we should all be walking around with 9.8s of every new book.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah. As long as you take care. Yeah. As long as obviously no.
Yeah, you put it like for me, the whole new era of collecting. It's like, but come on, like it should be a 9.8. There should be every book that comes on the stand should be a 9.8 right now.
Yeah. At least at its initial birth, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's just weird the grading thing, and I don't knock it because a lot of people do it, and it's like I get it. It's the hustle.
Sure.
It's the hustle from the flippers. It's the hustle from the grading companies.
Yeah.
I just can't get in that loop of graded books, or like I said, unless it's something where here it is, it's an $80 She-Hulk #1 that's graded when nobody wanted it.
Right. Yeah, a deal's a deal. Yeah,
you can. Not 500.
Right.
I could do that, but yeah, I'm cool.
The other thing about having a graded book is you could always talk with Morbius and Paul, and they could crack it right out for you, if need be.
I love that they do that.
Yeah,
because for them, it's not like they're cracking 9.0s or what. Like they're cracking a 5.0.
Sure.
And they want it to complete their run, and it just looks good when you do your Instagram reel and you're like stacking them up, and you're like 1, 2, 3. Like I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Stack slabs.
Yeah, right. Doesn't ride out the same.
Nah.
I like Michael said, my wallet and Skeme need to have a conversation. You're encouraging Michael here to spend some money, I guess.
Yo, man, that's what we live for. Honestly, my grandmother always said, "Spare no expense on yourself."
Yeah.
Right. She always said that.
Yeah.
But my grandfather always said, "If you can't afford to buy it twice, don't buy it once."
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'll never break the bank.
Yeah.
Right? Bills got to be paid. And yes, of course, bills get paid late sometimes because you're like, oh, I need that. If I don't get it now, I'm not going to get it later.
Sure. Opportunity. Yeah. That's good, though. I like that. What was the other thing? PRP says Skeme and me are starting an anti-grading movement called Slab Your Moms. Love it. Patrick's the slab king right here. There you go. Yeah, like you said, I mean, every collector is different. Everybody has their own style.
And that's one thing I never do. I never knock anyone for collecting or you know how they collect or what they collect, because that's someone else's passion.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Slabs look good. If you have a nice like wall unit with just slabs and it just looks good.
I try to get that going up there.
If you got the essentials. But see, that's my thing. I need essentials slabbed.
Right.
Some people are slabbing new stuff where it's just like, oh, this is a new book that came out a week ago. But
right.
Like, did you even open it? Did you even read it? You know?
Yeah.
That's when it's kind of iffy. I'm like, are you buying just for it to be slab, or did you actually read the book and enjoy the book?
Sure. Yeah, I could definitely understand the older books, just the wanting of it being protected because it's old paper. It's old, you know. I mean, I have my X-Men 1. Granted, it's signed too, which helps obviously with the value of it. But even if it wasn't signed, I would still probably prefer that old X-Men 1 book to be graded at this rate. Exactly. It's already beaten up and you know, it's a 2.5, so it's old, you know.
That's when you get it graded.
Just to keep it at its you know, whatever it's at, you know, value wise or condition wise, you know, keep the condition from getting any worse. Yeah, Eric, what's going on, brother? He says dropping facts. Absolutely, man. He says he's been listening for a while. Appreciate you hanging out with us here.
What's up, Eric?
We also got Hyper Combo Comics in the house. What's going on, brother? Everyone, new book now should be a 9.8. Tell that to Diamond Distribution.
Yo, there's so many horror stories about Diamond, man. Like, like distributors in general. Like, there's the horror stories, man.
Hype, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us too. So all right, cool, man. This is great. I've been loving this scheme, and I have another question for you, and then I want to get into some of the rapid fire stuff, and then we'll go off, you know, talk about some non-comic book related things as well. So the one of the things I like to highlight here is about the middle of the show, and we're about an hour in. So again, appreciate everybody hanging, or if you're watching the replay. I talk about how there's new collectors, new readers, new hobbyists coming into this hobby every day. And that's a big thanks to the TV shows, the movies, MCU, you know, DCU, like all these different things that are coming out. It's introducing or reintroducing maybe those who used to be into it and then they dropped it for years, similar to, you know, some stories we've heard and what you had mentioned even, you know, people getting in and out. So we have these folks who might be just getting back into the hobby or for the first time ever getting into the hobby, maybe first time ever walking into a comic book shop. And really maybe, I mean, I know I'd be overwhelmed with everything that's going on right now. And even joining the hobby or the community can be overwhelming because you see everybody posting all these big fancy books and beautiful grades and beautiful copies. And you know, so I think it can be a little intimidating at times. Mm-hmm. So where I'm going with this is my question for you is, do you have any advice or at least what would be one piece of advice that comes to your mind when it comes to somebody brand new to the hobby that they're just getting into it now and they might ask you a question, you know, what would you say to them in terms of that?
I would say go spend your money, buy a time machine. Go back to when you were 7 years old.
I like that.
When you had no money and you had to make that $1 stretch. So you bought what you thought was good, what X-Men book or what Fantastic Four or what Thor or whatever, right?
Yep.
Buy what you would, just buy the bare essentials because that's all you had the money for. And that's what helped build your taste. If you knew, okay, I'm buying this X-Men, that's what you were buying every month.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
As an adult, our eyes are just as big as our wallets, and sometimes bigger.
Sometimes bigger.
Right? So we do all these things, and it's hard for us to just stop and just focus on one thing. And say, you know what? I'm gonna stick to these 3 titles.
Yep.
Right? Don't overspend. Like, you don't chase hype. You know, come into it and really have an appreciation for like, oh man, you know what? I just saw this new Spider-Man movie. I'm going to buy the Spider-Man book, this title or whatever. My kid likes so-and-so and he saw this movie. So now I'm going to buy this title for him. Go and less is better.
Yeah.
Less is better, you know, because you want everything. And I see some people's pull lists and I'm like, geez, like, yo, you got like, you know, and some people are like, they'll jump on it because they see someone else having a crazy pull list. And then they versus having your own taste, your own interests, and just saying, I'm gonna focus on these 3 titles and buy. And of course, if there's hype on this one book and it's a variant, Sure, chase that. That's what we all do. We all chase that one variant.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. But less is better, and really build a collection that you're proud of.
Yeah.
People with money who buy art, they don't just buy art.
Right.
They buy what they have a connection to.
Something that speaks to them. Yeah.
Something that speaks to them, something that's going to look good in their house.
Sure.
Something that they feel like this is going to go up in value because this is a young artist coming out.
Sure.
And he just did his first gallery show. Almost like without the whole perception of like money.
Right.
Buy what you have an attachment. You buy a car, why? You buy a car because it feels good, it drives good, it's gas efficient, blah blah blah. Unless you have money, then you just buy a Ferrari.
Right.
Right. But yeah.
I love it, man. No, I absolutely love that. I like the idea of like you said, like kind of focusing in on that handful of things that you know that you're passionate for already. And I think that goes also to, ignoring some of the distractions or the FOMO that's out there, because that hits us as well. And obviously movie hype and things like that. It is challenging. It is challenging at times.
That's the curse of social media.
Right. That's the best.
Too much.
Yes.
Like, when you really think about it, humans were not meant to interact with this many people all at the same time.
Yeah.
We weren't. We were supposed to wait a week after something happened, and we got a magazine, and it was like, oh, that happened last week, or that rock star died, or what I'm saying? Like, now we're just getting everything at once,
like
it's
instant
overload. Right.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to interact and hear this many opinions
all
at the same time. Like, I didn't know what you looked like, so I didn't know what you were wearing. If you were like a rapper or I didn't know what you were wearing. I had to just hear your music and think, what's this guy? Because he mentioned Adidas, so like I don't know what Adidas he's wearing.
Yeah.
Now we see everything and we want everything because we see all these opinions all at the same time.
It's true. It's true, man. That's absolutely does it, man. And it is, like I said, it just makes it that much harder when you start, it kind of pulls you, but again, going back to your point, if you can, keep your eye on those handful of things that you're trying to really zoom in on. And I like that you mentioned, like, going back in time, what are those things that kind of, got you as a kid, or things that you were just like at that time, damn, I wish I could buy. Because now you're an adult, now you're able to, hopefully you're able to do some of that and spend a little in those areas. So that's probably, makes sense to be one of the first places to look anyways. So I agree for sure. I saw a hyper here. He put, he said, Skeme got a point. When I had a minimum wage job in the past, I had to really make sure that I only spent my money on things that truly gave me joy. As I got older, I was a little bit more reckless with spending. Yeah, for sure. And that's easy. I mean, it's easy to, I was, if you go to a shop and there's like a dollar bin and you just happen to like go nuts, or a sale, or a, annual sale of some sort, it's easy to kind of like, oh, it's only this, like, you start buying things. But then I have had piles that I have now that I don't necessarily care for. And I'm like, what, man, like, why did I get these? I got like a whole short box of books where I'm just like, these can go. I don't know. Like, I don't know where my head was at that time or what I bought them for. Some of them I haven't read yet, haven't had the time, haven't had the interest, to reading certain books that I had bought when I was out, just finding deals or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge keeping that focus.
And that's how you overspend. Like, you can overspend buying dollar books. Like,
yes,
me and the homie Problematic, we hit the January 1st sale every year at one of our comic shops, and he has like 50 long boxes of dollar books, which technically are $5 books. Like, he prices everything so much cheaper. So it'll be like dollar book sale, but everything in there, everywhere else, are $5 books or $7 books. And you're just buying for the sake of buying. Yeah. Because they're dollar books. You get home with a long box and you're like, what was I thinking?
Why did I do this?
Why did I do this?
And you could have put that money, that like $50, towards a individual $50 wall book or something like that.
That's the collector like default of us. We want everything.
Yeah. And like Uncanny just said,
we want everything, but we can't collect everything.
Right.
And just think, when you are into multiple things, you have to be like, okay, I'm into this. Like, I can't buy everything.
Yep.
So you miss out on some things.
Got to pace yourself for sure. I like Michael Hare mentioned. He said I made a concession of less TV and Netflix to allow for a more larger pull list. And that kind of going back to like as you're saying, like even as a kid, you had $10 to spend for the week. How am I going to space out this 10? If I want music, but I also want go to the arcade, but I also want some comics. Like how am I going to give up some stuff to or like you said, like maybe you didn't eat one day or you skipped on a lunch or something like that. If you're like I could do I had a bigger breakfast, I could get through to dinner with this. So you got to draw the line somewhere. You got to be strategic. So I like that. Skeme, this is great, man. I'm loving this. I want to get into some of these rapid fire questions. I want to get into some other stuff. So again, want to remind folks that are watching right now, first, thanks for hanging with us, whether you're here now live or if you are watching the replay. Make sure if you're not following Skeme Richards, I put all his information in the description below. So don't hold back. Definitely reach out to him if you're looking to talk comics or music, amongst other things. So I'm going to let me pull up my list here because I will say some of this rapid fire stuff gets tough, Skeme. It gets tough.
Okay.
There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer unless it's an answer I disagree with, and that's the only time. But otherwise, there's no wrong answer. But I'm going to kick it off right now. You talked about a couple of different characters here so far, but I'm going to say if you could only choose one character as listed as your number one favorite character of all time, who would that comic book character be?
Oh man. Number one character.
Something that like, if you were just getting it tattooed on you for life, like out of any other, one, who comes to mind?
Honestly, you know what? I'm going to have to say,
I got to bring the Hulk. Damn, nice.
I'm a Hulk. Like, I mean, granted, I'm patterned after the incredible Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, which technically I could say him, but Hulk. Yeah. I would say Hulk.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. This is what I love. I love to see, like, you obviously there's so many choices, and I've had. Yeah, right. I've had guests on the show who figure out ways to answer these questions like 5 or 6 different ways, but that's good. I appreciate that you're right there, the one. Yeah. So that's solid. Hulk is great. I know Morb is a big Hulk guy. I've talked about Hulk before. My girlfriend really enjoys Hulk with the movies, Avengers, and things like that. Always one of her favorites. Hey, we got my man Rod in the house, just to Rican and his comics. What's going on, brother? And yes, sir, a Philly fan. Yes, sir, Philly fan right there. Let's see. If you could have one superpower, what would that superpower be?
Teleportation, because I would pop into a comic shop in the middle of the night, grab books, and be out.
Bamf, just bamf right away. I love it, man. I'm right there with you. What about you talked about characters in general, but I'm going to switch it up and ask you about a villain here. Who's your favorite villain of all time? If you could only pick one. Doom. Seemed pretty easy.
Because that's like, he is the greatest villain. I mean, there's been other bad guys.
Yeah.
But he's the greatest villain.
Yeah. That's fair.
Everybody else is bad guys. Bullseye from Daredevil.
Yeah.
Magneto, depending on what side of the fence you're on. Like,
sure.
Doom is,
top notch. I'm with you, man. He's definitely one of the best. I get the vibe that you're more of a Marvel guy, although you did show some DC stuff. But the simple question of Marvel or DC, where's your heart go with that?
Marvel number one for me.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I because I read more Marvel, but I read DC as well.
You did? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I read DC as well. I mean, because you figure, like, I always loved Batman as a kid, so Detective Comics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Aquaman. Like I was a kid, so when you think about it, what cartoons were on as a kid in the 70s? DC was on Batman.
Yeah.
Green Arrow, Green Lantern, all of the animation cartoons. That was all DC. So of course, I'm a love DC, but Marvel just had the better of the characters, stronger stories. So for me, it was Marvel more. That's where more of my money went. But
yeah, that makes sense.
As I've gotten older, and you go back and you're like, man, DC had some amazing war books, and like war comics are like some of my favorite books. So it's like, man, DC had the better war books.
Right.
So
it depended whatever that flavor was at the time you were into. That makes sense.
Marvel heroes, hands down, are romance comics. DC made the better romance comics.
Good point.
Good point. Yeah. And a lot of those like romance comics are so collectible. Whether it was the like Roy Lichtenstein art in it, or who drew, like there's so many different reasons now.
Totally. Yeah. Do you have I assume you have a decent DC collection? Are you collecting runs there as well? I know you just held up some some of the DC stuff, but are there any? No. Okay. No.
No runs. Like I collect certain key issues.
Okay.
Or choice issues.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I don't like to say key because like the word key gets thrown around.
Sure.
So certain choice issues where it's like, oh, there was a topic going on in here that I really can relate to in this topic.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And then I started like all of the bondage covers. It's like, all right, I'm collecting bondage covers.
Yeah.
If there was like a riot on campus, because there was a lot of riot campus covers that was going on, DC and Marvel. So it's like certain things I'm collecting.
That makes sense.
DC runs.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No, that's I was flipping, going back through your Instagram account, and I noticed that majority was Marvel, so that's why I was like, I had this feeling.
Then I catch a hard time from Morbius and Paul with the whole like, why are you posting DC? Why are you?
Don't let them bully you, bro. Don't let them bully you. No, I mentioned DC the other night. Paul threw me a look the other night we were streaming. No, it's all good. I've been definitely dabbling in both, for the stories and stuff more recently. But I'm always curious, just kind of seeing where people lean on the fence of that. And obviously we have, a lot of indies and stuff like that now too. Right. And if anything, those are growing, which is a good sign, I think, for the industry as a whole.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Going into if you had to choose one, who is your number one favorite comic book artist of all time?
Byrne.
Oh, all right.
Because you know what?
Wow. I love it.
It wasn't. I was always familiar with Kirby, with Perez.
Sure.
With all these artists, but it was Byrne and that X-Men run. Right? I feel like that Byrne X-Men run made me love comics. I already loved comics.
Yes, I love what you're saying right now, Skeme.
Byrne run. And I knew all of the names.
Sure.
But if you would have asked me 20 years ago, it would be Byrne. If you would have asked me at 16, it would be Byrne. If you would have asked me at 10, it would be Byrne.
Wow. Yeah. He was always there. He was always there for,
It was John Byrne. When he did the Fantastic Four, like it was Byrne. But it was that X-Men run, and just the whole like Claremont, Byrne, Terry Austin, Eric, like that whole
the team. Yeah.
So for me, Byrne.
Damn,
as I'm older, it's like, well, Kirby is still king.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right.
Joe Kubert for the war books, Plug for certain things.
Sure.
Perez, but it always comes back to Byrne.
Love it, man. I love that. We had just finished going through the Byrne stuff for our Omni X-Men show that we do on Tuesdays, and reading through each issue little by little, John and I, and we just went through the Byrne stuff, and now we're just getting into the post Byrne basically, and we're on 149. We had just broken down, and after Byrne, so Byrne stuff, I got into Claremont and Byrne right around the pandemic. That's when I and it was very random. I was never really into X-Men. I knew the cartoon back in the 90s, but I never read comics of that nature. I mean, being fairly new to comics in general, there's a lot of things I haven't read, but so I just kept hearing great things about Claremont and Byrne. And so I was like, I just want to read something good, just something good that's just a good read. Right. It doesn't matter if I'm related or connected to the characters, whatever. And I just always heard people say good things about Claremont and how he changed X-Men as a whole, and especially brought it back after it was canceled and had reprints and all this other stuff. So I'm like, for him to make it be what it is, like I'm so curious. So I started to just read one a day, I posted up on my story, and that's where I like John and I started talking more, and he was always a big fan. He grew up with them and had a connection, so we started to do this, and then I got into the Burn stuff, and it was just like one after it was just home run after home run after home run. Even some of the series, the lesser known series, kind of before the Dark Phoenix saga or in between Dark Phoenix and Days, some of those things are fantastic reads and artwork and everything. And so that's been my goal, is to collect everything. I'm technically 2 issues away from owning all the John Byrne and early date, Claremont, the 94 to 143, basically.
Right. That era.
Yeah.
That era was like, if I had to pinpoint one era of just being the greatest era of comics, that's the one era of being the greatest era.
Damn, man, I love it. I love hearing that, man. And sorry, folks, for me pulling. I got to bring up. I got to talk X-Men. If that, this is where the direction we're going. I told you, Skeme, we might go in different directions once in a while, but I had to let that rip, because I'm hearing the passion you have for it. I knew you were a fan. I didn't realize that was like top notch for you, which it is for me too. So I love that.
And I love a lot of guys. I love Steranko. I love.
Oh, sure. And I've seen the books you post. But
it's still like the purest heart is a child's heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because children love things unconditionally. So it's like when they get into something, they obviously are purely into it.
Yeah. And
Byrne was it.
Yeah. Yep. With you, man. Love it. I saw Gore here said the DC or Marvel choice always baffled me. It's like going to a library, seeing the bestseller and staff picks when you enter, and ignore the rest of the library, indies, strips, foreign comics. Yeah, no, I mean, I know Gore's big into everything, which, and I know you are too. Like, obviously the DC Marvel, the big two, as they've kind of coined it now at this point. It is interesting to know that, we still lean one way or another, but we can't forget about, as we mentioned, like the indies and
keep in mind, from the era I grew up in with comics, it was Marvel, it was DC, and then it was Charlton, it was Dell, it was so there's no difference between now and then. Right. It was like, well, Charlton was making a lot of horror comics, which I wasn't like big into as a kid. Even though I had some, but I wasn't like big into it. Dell was making like TV adaptations of like I Spy and Mission Impossible and stuff like that. Gold Key was making Fat Albert and stuff like that. So, of course, I'm ignoring a lot of that because it's not the X-Men. Sure,
right. Your heart has been set now at that point. You knew what you're gonna do. No, that makes sense. So talking about you mentioned Plug and Colin crushed the classic Browns horror. Good call there.
And so if I have to, let me add one to that favorite artist.
Sure.
Right? Because if we're talking like Marvel magazines, like Ernie Chan, like.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? We're talking.
I don't know a lot of those. Yeah, I haven't explored a lot of that.
Beautiful painted covers on the Marvel magazines. Yeah. Like that's some like all of the Conans and.
I've seen them. Yeah. Even like Eerie and some of those other like the horror stuff. They look beautiful, man.
That's a whole nother level.
Totally. And I've talked to Morbius about that, because I know he has a lot of the different collections of magazines. And I always tell him and other people, like, I can't get into the magazines because once I do, it's just another rabbit hole. Yeah. And my excuse for me not buying is that I have nowhere to put them. I don't have this. I don't have that box, the magazine size box, because they don't fit in the regular boxes that I own. So for me, I'm like, I have nowhere to store it. Otherwise, I'd buy it. That's my excuse. But once I get a box, and one day I'm going to get a box, because I do have, 2 or 3 or 4 magazines around. But, eventually I'm going to get a box. And when I do, that's going to unlock a whole new can of worms. Where I'm going to be like, well, now I do have a place to store them. So let's start getting into this, and the horror stuff. I love horror. And there's so many, from different eras of the magazine stuff. So that you're right though. That's
and like all the pre-codes, horror stuff, and like that's a whole nother. And me and the homie Problematic, like we've been diving into that.
That's cool.
But it's just like a whole nother era. Yeah, it's a whole nother problem.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The wallet is not a.
Byrne did everything beautifully. Yes, Byrne did everything beautifully.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. We'll switch it up here. So, what is the last comic book that you read?
Kill or Be Killed.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's Remender?
That wasn't the last, but like that's
yeah.
that's the last
Something that stuck to you. Yeah.
And I've actually read that more than once.
Oh, nice. I've heard great things.
Yeah, and Paul, it's funny because Paul even, we talked about that the other day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's the one." You know,
I think he was the one that brought it up. Yeah, he had mentioned it to me. Yeah, is that Remender? Am I thinking that right, or is that Brubaker? Brubaker. Okay, all right. Yeah, just getting mixed up.
So that, I mean, and besides, outside of like Hip Hop Family Tree, because the homie Ed Pisker, like I've read all those, but like that's the last one that I've read, and I feel like I've read it probably 3 times, just because like when I get on something and I read it, I'm like, oh, I need to go back and read it because in case I missed something.
Sure.
But like even the like Dark Phoenix Saga, like I've probably read that 50 times.
Yeah, same.
You know, like there's just certain things that you always go back and read. It's like listening to your favorite album. You always go back.
Old faithfuls. Yeah.
Yeah.
You always rely on.
Brubaker never disappoints. Yep.
Yeah. Gore said even a weak Brubaker book is a good book. Very cool. What is your favorite, if you had to pick one, your favorite comic book based film or movie?
The first Blade. And here's why.
Ooh, all right.
Here's why. It was a great movie. It wasn't a comic book movie because no one knew Blade was a comic book character except for comic book readers.
Sure.
Right? So it was a pure vampire techno movie.
Yeah.
Right? There was no fluff. It was rated R.
Yep.
That's it for me. Because by the time it became comic movies, it was not necessarily watered down, but it's like now we can't make rated R movies.
Right.
Because
they're trying to get that the younger audience.
The husband and the wife to buy tickets and then bring the 2 kids to buy tickets.
Yep.
We can have 4. When it's Blade and it's rated R, it's like
it eliminates the kids and
right. So for me, that's the greatest or the number one because it wasn't listed as a comic book movie, yet it was a comic book movie. Like I don't think they could ever do Blade in that fashion ever again.
Right.
You know, because Blade had no special effects when you think about it. It had no like, wait a minute, how is he shooting something out of his hand? No, it was guns, it was swords.
It's straight up. Yeah.
You know, so Blade.
I like it. Nice choice. Gore agrees. You got a couple folks agreeing there. Easily one of the best. It's been a while, I have to admit, watching Blade, but I definitely had seen it when I was much younger. Uncanny Swag says, Blade movie saved Marvel. There you go. Boom. What about let's see where. I love this question. If you could travel back in time, you talked about time travel. If you could literally travel back in time to any era and buy one comic book off the shelf at cover price, and here's the catch. You cannot ever sell this book. You can never give it to anybody. It literally has to go to the grave with you. What would that one comic book be that you would travel back in time to buy for cover price?
No brainer. It's a no-brainer. Just so you know, it's a no-brainer. Captain America comics #1.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And here's why. Look at the era that book was made in. Right?
It's like early 40s, right? Early 40s?
45 or whatever. So
45.
Like war era.
Yep.
Right? Imagine
they were burning books then, right?
They were burning books. Imagine a kid taking a nickel to the newsstand because there was no comic book shops. To the newsstand.
No LCSs yet. Yeah.
To buy that book. How many of those books made it?
Right. Yeah.
To now.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, right? So the thing about being a collector is you want to be the only person with something or one of the only persons with something.
True. And yours would be mint condition because you're bringing it back with you now to today. Exactly. So your time, make sure you bring a bag and board and you're good.
Right. When Amazing Fantasy 15 was rare, it was rare because we didn't know people or didn't see people on Instagram posting it.
Sure.
We only heard about the one that got sold through Sotheby's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We didn't know there was 5 other guys across America that had one in their basement.
Yeah.
Right? There's not 5 guys across America with that Captain America one in their basement.
It's true. It's a great point.
That would be the one book. Because I love it. That time and people threw things away. Things weren't valued back then. It was like
right. Yep, such an early time. Yeah, for comics. Yeah, Patrick, who was just on the show, I just had him as a guest a couple weeks ago. He said the same thing. He's a big Captain America fan, and he had said the same thing. And he said he would buy 2. There you go.
Exactly. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, we think alike, and especially as collectors, it's like, yo, this is the one book. Like, you know, if you would have asked me this question 20 years ago, I probably would have said Amazing Fantasy 15. Like a lot of people probably would have said it.
Right.
But now we see more of those. And there's more of those that have popped up.
Yeah.
You know, so that Captain America's one, man. That's the one.
That's a great point too, because like I actually have looked back, like even on eBay, kind of scoured the internet to see like what's out there, even if it is thousands of dollars that I'm not going to buy. I'm just curious, you know, how many are currently exist and things like that. And it is not easy to even find people talking about it in terms of showing off their copy, you know, or anything like that, because there's just not many copies,
right?
Or at least, and if they are, they're so beat up, or they're missing pages, or they're you know, watered down, you know. Like they're you know. So
that's the book you keep in the safe deposit box in the vault.
Yes, yeah, right? Yeah, the bank.
Don't
leave
it at home. 100%. You leave it at the bank. It's insured.
Yep, it's true. Yep, play it safe. All right, I'm going to change it up just a little bit here, Skeme, and ask you. We're going to do some this or that. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with some easy ones, and then I'll throw you some that might make you squint a little. So I'm going to start with. So let's talk about some food, because I know you had mentioned you're a foodie on. I think it was on your website. I know you're a foodie. So let's start with that, and I'm going to ask you if you would go with, if you had to choose one, pizza or cake.
Oh, pizza.
Easy. Okay, yeah, I'm with you there. See, all right. What about Pepsi or Coca-Cola?
Mexican Coke in a bottle.
Okay.
Mexican Coke in a bottle.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Pepsi from out of the fountain, from out of the original fountain.
Okay. All right.
As kids,
I'll let that slide.
As kids, we used to go to the corner drugstore who had the soda fountain machine, and we buy comics, and we sit at the soda fountain and get.
Sure.
So but Mexican Coke in a bottle.
See, folks. Skeme has figured out how to answer these questions by giving 2 answers. He's armed and dangerous now. All right, let's see. Gonna go with let's talk about characters for a second. Batman or Daredevil?
Man, I read more Daredevil comics as a kid. I'm gonna go with Daredevil.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to go with Batman.
I know it's the so said correct and correct to your other two. Yeah, Steve agrees as well. Yeah, BLC, man. Nah, man. I can't do the Pepsi thing, man. All right, let's see. Going into the next one here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the creative. It's funny when you talked about Fantastic Four, and I will say I did have a question on there to say name your favorite Fantastic Four member, but we already know Mr. Fantastic now. That's easy. So I'm crossing that one out the list.
I would get shot if I said Herbie the Robot.
You've been posting some Sal Buscema covers or Buscema. If you had to choose one, Sal Buscema or Gene Colan?
Oh,
interior.
I think I'm going with Gene Colan.
Nice.
I think I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to
go
with Gene Colan.
That's fair.
Sal is the more recognizable name in certain circles.
Fair, yeah.
But I'm going with Gene.
Yeah.
I always like the underdog anyway.
Yeah, for sure. We got Architectural in the house. What's going on, brother? We also got Sheena Station. Sheena. Hello. So yeah, that's right. Patrick, I think he mentioned that before too. He says, I do like Coke from a glass bottle. So that's
the only way to do it.
3 for 3, folks. 4 for 4 now. He's 4 for 4.
My man.
Architectural says Colin as well. So yeah, no, I love his stuff, especially the Daredevil stuff. From the 90s, got to bring a little 90s into this. Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane? As an artist, I should clarify.
All right, so
let's hear it. Let's hear it, Skeme.
So McFarlane is like the Yankees and the Lakers. Everybody's going to pick McFarlane because everybody likes everybody has a Yankees hat. And I'm like, you're not even from New York.
Okay.
Like everybody has a Yankees hat. Everybody likes the Lakers. When I'm like, you don't really like the Yankees or the Lakers. So I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with Jim Lee. Why?
Okay.
Because
which is crazy to say underdog and Jim Lee in the same sense.
I mean, yeah, because he's not, but I feel right. McFarlane is the name, the toys, like he's the bigger brand.
Yeah. Jim Lee's got DC now. He's got DC.
Well, that's now. That's, like Jim Lee is, before everyone was a Laker, they were on the Milwaukee Bucks. They were on so Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came from the Milwaukee Bucks and then went to the Lakers. Jim Lee is the guy without having to have the championship trophies. He's the guy. He's the reason why everything works.
Love it. I love that description. I love that description. Spot on, man. Spot on. He said, so says NBA Jam. He's on fire. Get out of here with your Mets, Patrick. Come on, man. This guy talking about the Mets right now.
No, Mets over Yankees.
Nah, man.
Mets over Yankees. Mets fans, Yankees fans are a lot of people that jumped on the Yankees band.
Oh, that's true. And I'm partially one of them, although I was not into baseball ever. So when I did get into baseball, my girlfriend got me into Yankees. I just got into baseball like 4 years ago. So I was never into baseball. I thought it was the most boring sport ever. And then she was like, she grew up on it. She's huge on Yankees and Giants. And, started going to games and I started just having it on. She's like, I like to have it on. Like baseball season. You have baseball on. And I started watching, started getting interested, started to do fantasy baseball, started to get into it. And I'm like, man, baseball's great. So I had to have a team, and so, got to support the girlfriend.
Some of my favorite memories growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
My grandfather would have the 1:00 games on the radio. So you're reading comics and the game is on. So
that's cool. That is cool. There you go. You're getting some love there with that Mets line that you had mentioned. Mark said Jim Lee is a much better artist creatively and technically. Fair.
Yes.
Fair. All right, let's see. Next one up here. I thought this was an interesting question. I kind of just put this as a this or that for you. These are obviously two classic artists. But when it comes to covers, who would you prefer? Neil Adams or John Romita Sr.?
It would depend on what book they're drawing.
That's fair. Fair.
I like Neil Adams.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to run with Neil Adams.
Classic, especially the Batman stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like his Batman covers were so dark and raw. Like I'm going with Neil Adams.
It is hard though, because I always think of Spidey, and I always think of John Romita.
That's only his claim to fame. Romita's is Spidey. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. We'll take it. I love it. The last one I had, we don't even have to talk about it because you already answered. Was Dave Cockrum or John Byrne, but you've already shared your expressions for that. Yeah. So I love it. It's so sad. Damn, get this man a crown. It's funny. Yeah, agreed, Patrick. Can't go wrong. Both are fantastic. I always should clarify that in the beginning. We're not saying that we like one and not the other, but just if you had to choose one is always the name of the game. Exactly. There you go, getting some love from Sheena. All right, let's switch it up here just a little bit. So I know we're coming up on the hour and a half mark. Wanted to get into some non-comic book related stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. Share anything that you have coming up, and then we'll get everybody out of here. And again, folks, thanks for hanging. If you're not subbed up and following Skeme, I put his information in the description below. So let's talk here first and foremost. Let's dive into music. Let's just kick it right off into music. Obviously, that's a massive part of your world, and related to business and personal life and everything. So, tell me. I usually ask the questions like, what's your favorite genre? Who's your favorite artist? But just talk to me about some of what music means to you in general. Obviously, from a artist standpoint as well as someone who has just appreciated listening to it as well.
Music for me is everything. It's what I grew up in the household with. My parents always had records. My grandparents always had records. There was always music in the house. There was always Soul Train on Saturday afternoons. There was always going to block parties and seeing the DJs. Then there was always the house parties, the dollar house parties.
Nice.
So all of these things, like, this is who I am. This is the connection. This is the lineage. From the R&B and the disco and the soul, up to the 80s when it was the hip hop era, and then I'm going backwards and I'm being like, yo, late 60s, early 70s jazz is my thing. It's what I put on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm, cleaning the crib or reading comics or whatever, so it's just really dope that as, I can make a living being a DJ and playing this music, and go global with it, be all around the world and connect with people, because honestly, the things that connect people the most: art, music, culture, food, and drink. Right? Those are the things that connect the world. And through music, the amount of people that I've met, the amount of people that had met at my parties and got married because they met at my parties.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing for me.
Yeah.
So like music is my life. That's my number one thing. Like, without that, who would I be? I would be just a collector. I would just be doing whatever, Music has taken me across the globe, and I've been to every continent except for Australia.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. That is so cool, man.
So it's just taken me around the world. I've met a lot of great people through it, a lot of great artists, musicians, just everything. But that music, man, it's the lineage. It's started in the household at home. Yep. Carried on.
And nonstop ever since.
Yeah.
So if you had to kind of narrow it down to a top 5 or top 3, who are some of the main artists that come to mind for you that are, I mean, I'll use the word favorite, but that could also describe your inspirations or what you look up to, or just what you enjoy the most. Who are some artists, if you want to rattle kind of a couple off here?
All right, so I'm a hip hop kid, even though like R&B and all that was in my parents' collection. Yeah. Hip hop wise, Tribe Called Quest. That's a given. Yeah. Soul wise, we're going to say Stevie Wonder. Right? Yeah. If we're going rock, I would have to say Jimi Hendrix.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yep. If we're going disco, Diana Ross.
Nice. Love it. Yeah, right? Yeah.
So it's like all that's like my top. But then if we're going like producers, Quincy Jones.
Oh yeah, he's done so much.
He did everything, like from Jackson to like movie scores. So like I'm kind of across the board, because for me, good music is good music, And
sure, absolutely.
If you dump into like, punk, then it's like Sex Pistols and like all like it's just like it's so much,
Yeah, you come off as somebody who listens to all genres, as long as it's good music,
Yeah, because as a kid, like hip hop was my music, and my parents was like, that's noise, But I still had a connection to their music because that's what I heard in the house.
Sure.
But when we used to go to parties, we would hear new wave, we would hear punk, we would hear electro, we would hear R&B, we would hear so much music in the mix, and that right there, versus now, I feel like we're programmed to like something because the visuals is so much. Like we see on Instagram, we see on the radio. It's like music is life. That's Tower Records slogan. Music is life. So I'm just a music lover. Just like I'm a comic lover. Like I love books.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And is this something that obviously this being your career, was this always your career? Like, were you, I mean, did you always see yourself as a DJ? Like, was this something like early on that you just knew, or did it take time for you to kind of dive into that?
I've always DJed. I started DJing in '81, right?
Yeah.
It was never something that I wanted to do as a living or professional. It was just something I did. It was like, it's no difference than like coming home and playing video games or reading a comic book. Still Johnson. Yes. Still Johnson. so like I never wanted to become a professional DJ or working class DJ. I wanted to be a producer and produce hip hop albums more so than I wanted to be a professional DJ.
Okay.
Right? So I always did that from 81 up until now. I've always DJ'd. But until 2002, I always kept a 9 to 5. Okay. Right? Yeah. So I worked for BMW for 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Right? And I was there until 2002 until 2012. And it got to the point where it's like, I can't travel the globe
and still have this
and be at work. And my manager was cool with it. My manager was like, yo, and then I remember his words exactly. He was like, if it was a Thursday, he would say, why are you even here? Don't you have some jigga shit you need to do? And that was my cue to be like, oh, you can leave for the week or whatever.
Right.
He was like, yo, I don't mind when you bounce out and go to Europe.
Yeah.
For a couple of days and come. He was like, because when you're here, you're always you hustle.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't care. Like if you gotta go, whatever.
Yeah.
But the company had got sold to a corporate company because it was family owned, right? So they got sold to a corporate company. And the first thing he said to me was, when a new company comes in, I can't let you just fly around the world like you're doing.
Sure.
So it's like you have one or two choices. I can lay you off and you can just go and collect unemployment for the next year, or you got to be here. And I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time to jumpstart what I want to do.
Take that leap. Sure.
Right? And I had already booked a Japan tour for 3 weeks, and I was already trying to figure out how am I going to go to Japan for 3 weeks.
Right. Wow.
And that happened.
Wow.
And I just
timing.
It was good timing. And I just knew, okay, now I'm self-employed.
Yeah.
And I have to get up, like I still go to work at 9 to 5. I got to wake up in the morning, emails, book gigs, hustle, So yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's inspiring, man, too, to just hear like, I feel like we all have that dream or that something that we're like, it's scary because to take that leap, talking about having that 9 to 5, having that security, and you're used to that, you grew up with that, like, and then at the same time, it's like you got to go above and beyond, and you can't do, you can't necessarily have both when your dreams like pulling, for you to be out, places elsewhere. So for you to have the guts to recognize the opportunity, take that leap of faith, and thank God you did, because look where you are now, man, with everything that you do. Like it's like
here's the thing, like sometimes you have to do it. Like I never wanted to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
Right. I always wanted to make sure I had a 9 to 5 so that I could fund my art. Yep. A lot of artists go the opposite way, where it's like, I'm just going to starve and hustle and grind it out. I'm like, I like nice things.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep nice things.
Yeah.
But I made sure I was like, okay, you know what? I own a house.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that I own the house, now I don't have to pay rent to anyone.
Yeah.
So that's one less factor of being stressed.
Yep.
Now it's just like, okay, now you have to maintain your house, pay your bills.
Yep.
But like now it's that mortgage is not weighing over your head.
Totally. You kind of had this other time to prepare and handle some other things while you did have that 9 to 5. And then, So yeah, like you said, I think it's like perfect timing, which is another thing too, kind of, taking that leap when it comes, recognizing the opportunity when it's there.
And there was multiple opportunities where I was like, oh, I feel like I made it. I got this record deal. I feel like, and then I fell through, and I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't quit my day job.
Right. Yeah, man. No, it's definitely, good for you, man. I love hearing these kind of stories. So, to see where you are now, and it's cool to get a little glimpse of, this music stuff and what it means to you. And, I was in the music industry for a little while, and I did it when I was going to school. I went to school to Five Towns College over in Dix Hills, Long Island for a year. And then I went to the Institute of Audio Research in New York. That was like a year program. And then I was, I got into working with a company that distributed studio gear. We were working with Empirical Labs, which was, if you're familiar with the Distressor and some of those, tools and stuff like that. And so I got into that for a while, and then I fell into. They had me doing marketing, and I didn't think I'd be into that. They had me doing video editing and things that weren't music related.
Right.
And I'm like, do I want to do it for this or whatever? But I ended up falling in love with a lot of this stuff. And that's what I do now. I do marketing now.
Right.
So social media, especially, focus on that, ads and things. But we do video editing. But the knowledge of that music editing and engineering helped kind of carry through a lot of the things that I do now. Yep. Just being savvy, troubleshooting and things like that.
Yep.
So it's really cool, man. Did you ever do, or so you're, I mean, you're as a DJ, like I was to say, like I handled a lot of live sound stuff at one point where I was doing like we drove around in a audio truck that I worked for this truck doing recordings for live sound, stuff like that, and I would just help run cables. That was like one of my main things, set up microphones for the drum sets and things like that. But it's obviously that's a little different. Obviously with what you're doing, you're the main event going on stage and stuff like that. But do you have like a crew or people that assist you in certain ways when it comes to traveling, especially when you're out traveling the world?
I'm the lone wolf.
Wow. Okay.
I'm the lone wolf. Like I really wish I had like an intern or a
we need to get you an intern, man.
I know
for a lot of things, the comic stuff, the video, YouTube, like everything.
Yeah, but like, no, I'm the lone wolf. Like in the beginning, it was like, oh man, it's kind of lonely.
Yeah.
But now that I've been around the world, it's like, oh, I can go anywhere and I know 50 people. Like it's all good. Like now cool. The loneliest part really is being on like a 12-hour flight or 18-hour flight.
Yeah.
But that's when I get my movies in. That's when I get my reading in.
True, that's a good point.
But yeah, like the whole, like I used to want to go to college for like studio engineering.
Yeah.
But I've always had a studio in the house since like 85, 86. I've always had studio equipment.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I know how to record. Why do I want to go to school to get a degree when I'm already doing it? So I was like, I never went to school for engineering.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why am I going to give somebody money?
Yeah, no,
that's that I'm already doing.
If you're already on it, yeah.
But
you had the equipment too.
Yeah, and then did I know I was going to be DJing and doing this all my life? No, I didn't.
Right.
So, but like fast forward, here I am, and it's been a great journey, man. It's really been
so
a great
cool
journey. Just being around the world, eating good food, drinking great beers, like meeting good people.
Yep.
It's amazing.
I love it. It's so cool, man. Couple quick things here. I saw Jeff Schultz in the house. What's going on, Jeff from Chicago? Thanks for hanging. Rudy was talking about when you said nice things, including electric and gas, food in the fridge, things like that. Yeah. He's listing off a bunch of things here. So, all right, let's see. I want to change it up a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about I just lost my spot here. We had talked about sports, but a little bit. But where do you stand ultimately with your different sports teams based on different sports? Like, what's your favorite sport, and then who are kind of some of your teams going from there?
All right. So, once again, taking it back nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite hockey teams, of course, the Flyers.
Okay. Yep.
But I always loved the Chicago Blackhawks.
Ooh. Okay.
It was just something about seeing them on TV all the time.
Okay.
And
just as a kid, as a
kid, the uniforms, the logos, like
I'm
drawn to logos.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right. So
that's cool.
But as an adult, if it's hometown, I have to go with it first and foremost.
Sure. Okay.
It's hometown.
Just across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. Win, lose, or draw, it's hometown.
Yeah.
Because how do I look being like, oh, I'm a Dallas fan?
Sure.
Being a Philly.
Yeah. Not a lot of people are gonna appreciate that. That's for sure.
And I'm not gonna like LA because I like a member on the team.
Yeah.
Right. The only team that I might have done that with might have been Bulls and Chicago and Jordan.
Yeah.
Might have been. But other than that, no. If it's like home team, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
That's it. Across the board. Win, lose, or draw. It's like home team.
Love it. So what's your favorite sport out of all these? I know we talked about a few.
It's definitely going to be basketball.
Yeah.
But like, it's going to be basketball. I feel like I love each equally.
Okay.
The least favorite is probably going to be, well, then it goes in spurts then, because like the Flyers are horrible right now. So I'm putting the Phillies above the
sure
the opposite way.
It's hard to watch them. Yeah.
So, but like, I'm going to say it's like basketball, football, then either or with
they can kind of swap.
Flip-flop, yeah.
Depending who's hot. Yeah. I love it. Hey, we got my man Michael in the house. What's up, Mike? So yeah, very cool, very cool. Yeah, sports has kind of always been a thing for me. I don't necessarily get it. I like hockey. I've gone to hockey games, and I would totally recommend that for anybody because the excitement is so cool. But I've never really like taken time to like invest in a team or root in that sense. But football definitely top for me. Do you do fantasy sports at all? Any fantasy lineups or anything? No.
Like I want to
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, that's just another thing I have to think about.
That's true, man. That's true.
Hard, it's hard to like stop and like think about things. I don't want any more tasks on my to-do list.
Right.
An intern and I'll do it. You find me an intern and I'll dive in. I'll get a YouTube page. I'll dive into everything.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna I'm gonna put out a petition or something. We're gonna work this out and get you a nice intern there. Yeah, so with the competitive comic hunting. There you go. I love that.
This is
man.
true.
Yeah, that's accurate. All right, let's see. I'm gonna get a couple other questions in here before we wrap up. No, we're cutting on a 2-hour mark here. Let's see. I asked you about movies. I asked you about comic book related movies. But what if you had to pick one? If there's one that just automatically comes to mind, what is your favorite like just movie of all times? Like, what is something that just comes to you? You're like, yep, you could quote it. You could watch it all the time. You've seen it a million times.
Oh man, I've seen so many movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what's crazy? I'm just going to throw Pulp Fiction up at the top.
Hell yeah, man! That's a great film, man.
I'm just going to throw that right at the top.
I love it, man.
I mean, of course, like Star Wars as a kid, I love Star Wars.
Sure.
All these different movies, but like I'm just going to throw Pulp Fiction right up at the top.
Hey,
everyone can relate to Pulp Fiction.
Yes. And that's it's hard to confidently say a name anyway. So for you to just be able to throw that, much credit to you. Obviously, I know you probably have a million others you could think of if you had more time, but I'd like to see like what comes to mind. So Pulp Fiction is definitely a top favorite. I love that pick. Yeah, man. Again, some love there for sure. Let's see. If you could, this one you've already done because you've traveled, but I was going to say, if you could go on vacation, paid for in advance, you and anyone that you want to take with you for a week, no pandemic, just safe to go somewhere you've never gone before, where would you like to go?
Oh, that I haven't gone before?
Yeah, that you've never gone before.
Oh, that I haven't gone before.
That's tricky since you've traveled, though. Maybe we take that part out. If there's something that
I'm going with, well, you know what? It's got to be Australia because that's the one place I haven't gone before.
Oh, that's true.
But even then, no, I'm taking that back. I'm taking that back because you know what? Because the Australian dollar to the American dollar is so horrible. Like,
not falling for that, right?
where would I go? Like, dude, I've been everywhere. Like,
I was gonna say, so give me something that even if you've been, because maybe you haven't been able to explore as much as you have, or where would you like to go back? That's a good one.
You know what? If I could, can I take people?
Yeah.
All right, if I can take people, and I've been every year, sometimes twice a year since 2008. It would be Japan, always.
Yep, that's a lot of people.
My travel buddy list would be you.
Oh, all right, I'm in.
Or
I love it.
Moonlit. So
there you go.
Problematic. Like we would just go.
Dude, that'd be amazing.
It'd be like, yo, we need to be there for a month.
That'd be amazing.
I'll get to all the employers and be like, hey, Justin's going here for a little while.
He'll be back.
About him. But yeah, like, because Japan is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never been, but
it's like they say New York never sleeps. It's a city that never sleeps. Japan is a city that never sleeps, and everything is there. Whatever you're looking for, they've got probably the rarest. Every rare comic book that you can't find, I guarantee you, it's guaranteed.
That's amazing. Damn. So, yeah. I like the idea of that, man, and I definitely would 100% go with you. Let's plan that out. Can we do that?
Yo, make it
happen. So great. All right, a couple other short ones here to pick off before we wrap up. First of all, are you a coffee guy? And if you are, how do you drink your coffee?
I'm only a coffee guy in Europe.
Ooh, okay. Oh, and so what is it? Just the style out there, or
cappuccinos, espressos?
Okay,
it's the culture.
Yeah.
Like you wake up and you get your cappuccino. And everybody's got the machines in their house.
Yeah.
Or you go to a restaurant after dinner, you get your espresso. So really, it's when I'm in Europe.
Love it. Yeah, that's great. I would. That's a plan I'd like to do one day for sure.
No, I mean, because honestly, the best coffee, honestly, is in Italy. Like legitimately, like you go to Italy and like the bagel shop down the street has the best coffee.
Yeah.
For like 50 cents versus here, you're buying like, coffee's expensive here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Love it. Love it. What's your favorite season of the 4 seasons?
Fall.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Fall.
I mean, I like fall. I think of football when I think of fall.
Yeah. Fall, it's still good enough. I can go out and ride my BMX. It's not too hot. I can still roll the streets. Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it, or I didn't like about it, fall was also back to school time as a kid.
That's true. That's true. Not looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right?
You're not alone there.
But yeah, I'd say fall because it's not hot. You can still throw on a hoodie and shorts or whatever.
Yeah.
Spring, it's too iffy. It's raining a lot. It still might be cold. Summer gets to be too hot. In winter, if you live in a climate where it snows, then you're just like, you got to deal with the snow. So I'm going with fall.
Yeah. No, that's fair. What is if something that comes to mind for you as a best concert you've ever been to? Not you performing, but you going to a concert. What is the artist that comes to mind to you as you just saw and that was like the best performance you've ever seen?
It's got to be Run DMC. Run DMC, the tour they did with Beastie Boys in Philly at the Spectrum. That was Run DMC. My Adidas tour. Like that was that was it.
When was that? What year we're talking?
When did they come? That was 85.
Oh man, okay.
Like that was it because that's concerts. Like they performed at the Spectrum, and that's where the Sixers used to play at.
Sure. So man, and you were there for that. That's awesome, man. That's
concert. So yeah, that's
something. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last question, and we'll kind of wrap this up here. And again, I appreciate you hanging with me, Skeme, because this has been awesome. We got to talk food because we dabbled in food, but we got to talk about food. Yeah. So my question I usually ask is, if you could just have it's a Friday night, or in this case, it's a Saturday night, you get to choose anything you want, whether you want to cook, you want to go out to eat, you want to order in. Like, what's your go-to meal when it comes to like dinner on a Saturday night? If you could just choose anything,
honestly. I'm a burger connoisseur.
Love it.
I'm a burger connoisseur.
Damn.
So I'm going with the burger.
Nice. How do you like your burger?
Medium.
Oh, okay. All right.
Medium. Like, I don't like it too bloody.
Sure.
But I like to taste the beef. I don't want like a bunch
of... Not
a
hockey puck, though, either. Yeah.
No. And I don't want like blue cheese and everything on it. I want to taste the quality of the beef.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
So medium.
Respect that.
Maybe a pickle, cheese. But not blue cheese and all, like just straight,
no. Just you gotta have just some cheese,
yeah. So give me the burger.
Oh man, I love it, man. I love it. Well, to go with that, I'll throw in like what kind of drink. If you're, I don't know if alcoholic drink or just your preferred choice of drink. What comes to mind for you?
Before I answer that, make sure you go to the hashtag Nostalgia King Eats.
Ooh, okay.
Instagram.
Oh, that covers everything.
Covers everything.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea with a hashtag. That's great.
Nostalgia King Eats. The ramen, the burgers.
Love it.
Right. So my drink of choice?
Yeah.
Gin and tonics.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
Mine. Like, I'm a beer connoisseur.
I was wondering if you're a beer guy. Yeah.
I'm a beer connoisseur, but like I'm more so now like a nice gin. Like whenever I travel, it's always I need the local beers.
Yeah. Okay.
I drink
trying something.
Only. Yeah. Like the venue I played at last night, I drank all Coke last night, right? Because they have their own Coke.
Oh.
Their own cola. It's not even Coke, it's cola.
Oh, that they make?
Club. Yeah, it's local. It's called Yacht Club.
Oh, wow.
Cola. So that used to be on my rider. When I did a party, I would have to have local made ginger ale or local made cola from the DJ booth.
Damn.
But yeah, so gin and tonics, gin and
Love it.
tonics, my choice, but beer, of course. But
Yeah. I totally get that, especially if you're traveling. Would definitely like to try like a lot of the local beers and stuff, which I like the
especially
idea of that.
Belgium and Amsterdam and like Netherlands and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
The goods.
Germany, like I would go to Oktoberfest in Germany every year.
I would love to do that. I went to Germany once, and that was one of the highlights, was trying some of the different types of beer out there
Yeah.
and how casual it is out there. You can have beer
Yeah.
at lunchtime, you know, just
that's
a
what I
of beer.
love about Europe. First of all, in Europe, the legal drinking age for beer is 16. And then the legal age to drink like alcohol is 18. Right. So you drink, like, it's not a stigma on like, why are you drinking beer at a certain age? Like, it's just
right.
Like,
it's
normal.
not right. Yes.
You know,
yes. It's not a big deal. Right.
And you go, you know, you're at the train station waiting for your train. And then you're like, oh, you're in Germany. You're like, oh, I'm just going to get a schnitzel or whatever. And I'm going to get a beer and I'm going to wait for my,
right.
You know, but you would love Japan.
Yeah.
You can buy beer off the vending machines in the street.
Oh, what?
Like all the vending machines on the streets. If there's beer, you can either get coffee, like hot coffee.
Yeah.
Or you can get beer off the vending machines on the streets.
Damn. That's dope. See, I didn't even know that.
Like Japan is a vending machine culture.
Yeah.
Right. So you can just go and like, you wait for the train and you get your beer at the vending machine while you wait for the train.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's convenient. Yeah.
It's
on the list, man. It's on the list. Well, I'm waiting for you guys. We're gonna do this as a group, man. I see Jeff. I think he mentioned earlier 86 when you were talking about that. Yeah. We saw Michael say Jane's Addiction. Just some other folks answering some of the questions here. Jeff talking about sushi. I'm a big sushi. Are you a sushi guy?
Oh, all day.
All right.
I'm in Japan. I got
it. Yeah. Steve too. Steve, I think, was someone who mentioned Japan when he was on the show, when I had him here on the show. Japan, and I know we talk sushi all the time. He's my sushi brother right there. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going back through some of these comments. I appreciate everybody hanging. So was asking in Australia when you were first thinking about, the locations you want to go.
I haven't been there, but then once
you
broke it down.
Yeah. Hey, we got my man John from John's Comments with Kids. All good, brother. We're just wrapping up here. But yeah, good stuff. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Skeme, those are the Depeche Mode 88. Oh, Rudy. Skeme, those are the questions I had for you, man. So this has been an absolute blast. Before we go, let the people know again where they can find you, and if you have anything coming up or anything you want to plug, I'll let you take the floor here.
My Nostalgia King website. I do a lot of like record reviews for independent labels. I review like some films, just anything that I'm into, all of the cool stuff, whether it's comics or whatever. I post all my digging adventures from around the world. So, if I'm in a certain city or country, you'll see all of the photos of me just like hanging out with friends and digging and finding stuff. But Instagram is definitely the connector to the world. Mm-hmm. So follow me on Instagram. You'll see all my hashtags: Skeme Richards, Nostalgia King Eats. That's where you can find me at. So
love it.
Follow me, and
dude, man. Yeah. And I agree, man. You traveling the world. I had so much fun just kind of seeing where you went and just seeing your experience. So it's cool. And it's so amazing to hear that you're doing this, that this is your life. This is your living. This is, and at the same time, it's your passion and you're enjoying life, and you're still able to read comics and to collect the toys and everything else in between that we've talked about today.
Dude, it's keeping me young. It's
all around, man.
Good.
Yeah, man. The true Nostalgia King. I absolutely love it, man. Well, Skeme, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to be. I mean, we're hitting the 2-hour mark, and I just felt like this just flew by, man.
Dude,
so
it could have been a 4-hour show.
Easily, just so casual, man, and just love the connection, love the stories you shared, and just appreciate you in general, man. Just the things that you do with the community, the books that you post, always keeping it fun, and you bring a lot of knowledge to the table, man. So I appreciate you for everything you do.
Yo, thank you for having me, man. I definitely enjoyed, man. It was great to see everybody in the chat, and like
absolutely
the community. This is what this is about, man. This community is just like amazing. Yeah. And once we just need to have like all go to a con together, just all jump on a flight. Let's make it Tokyo Comic Con. Let's all jump on a flight together, go hang out.
That'd be cool. Oh man, that'd be awesome. And yeah, Mark, sorry, Mark. I saw you had some comments. I couldn't. I was trying to get to more comments, but trying to keep this under my 2-hour mark here. But I appreciate you joining, brother. Michael too, celebrating. Yeah. Steve. do a part 2. He says, do a part 2. Maybe one day. Jeff, I put his stuff in the description of this video, so you can find Skeme Richards, or if you just type his name in, Skeme Richards is his IG handle. But you could, if you take a look in the YouTube link here or description, it is there as well. So again, folks, we got 16 people still hanging. Appreciate everybody here taking your time on a Saturday to come hang. These origin shows have been fantastic. I will say I will not be having one next week because I'll actually be at a local Comic-Con. Paul's coming down.
Wait,
actually,
is it King Con?
King Con? Yeah. Are you coming?
I'm going. How are you? How am I not getting the invite? You and Paul are
I didn't.
You and Paul. Morbius is the only one that calls. Is like, hey,
I didn't know.
Unacceptable.
He's right there too. He lives right there. No, you're right, man. I didn't even think that. Like, so if you're coming to that, that's awesome, man. Because it's a great. For me. I'm only like 40 minutes.
Right.
I know Paul's like making his trip down there. But yeah, man, if you're coming, dude.
Yeah, I'm coming. This is
unacceptable. Yeah, he said it's unacceptable. I love it, dude. Oh, that's so dope. Well, then I'm gonna see you next week. That's awesome, man. Yeah, so King Con, that's next week. That's gonna be Saturday. And then so I won't have a show, but I will be back the following Saturday, and I'll be talking with my girl Q, aka J Rails. So I'm really looking forward to that. She's been an awesome part of the community as well. So stay tuned. And yeah, otherwise, hope everybody's doing well. Again, Skeme, bro, thank you, man. Appreciate you. This was so much fun, man. Absolutely. For the folks watching the replay, thank you for taking that time. Smash that like button on the way out. I'm actually going to get ready to go see Batman again in just a couple hours. So cannot wait. Yeah, so